Welcome to the official Sales and Marketing for Beauty Conference podcast. This is your go-to destination for real-world insights on building, growing, and thriving in the beauty industry. Whether you're a beauty entrepreneur, a salon or spa owner, a product brand owner, or an aspiring professional, you're in the right place. Each episode is your personal masterclass in beauty entrepreneurship, from sales strategy and social media tips to brand building and behind the scenes stories from industry leaders. SAMB is more than a podcast or an event. We're a year round support system. Mark your calendar for SAMB 2025, our flagship conference happening November 5th through the 7th. It's a virtual event. And so we have a lot of global speakers as well as speakers there in the US and local to New York City. We'll also have some local networking opportunities, and there'll be virtual networking opportunities. And so there'll be hands-on workshops, one-to-one consultations, expert led sessions, all designed to help you scale and succeed and get real actionable strategies and tips to grow the sales and marketing function of your business, right? So stay tuned for the podcast. Make sure you check out our website, and we hope to see you at SAMB 2025.
Today we're tackling a topic that, honestly, is the entire battlefield for modern business. We're talking about client experience.
It's so true. We've got a huge stack of material here. Case studies, research, and it all points to the same thing. For too long, people have seen service as just, fulfilling a contract.
A line item, an expense.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But that perspective is, it's deadly in today's economy. Anyone can copy your product or your basic service. The one thing they can't replicate is the experience you create. That's the real differentiator.
Right. So we need to reframe this. The question isn't how do I make my client happy? It's more like how do I engineer a relationship that turns my client into my best salesperson? Because creating that 5-star experience isn't some luxury perk anymore. It is, and our sources are really clear on this, a competitive necessity.
And that's our mission for you today. We're not going to talk in abstracts. We're going to pull out the actual, the mechanisms, the checklist, the big aha moments that top professionals are using.
And this applies whether you're a consultant, you run a creative agency, whatever your field. This is about moving from just doing the work to meticulously designing the entire client journey. Okay, so let's start with the core philosophy, because this thread ran through everything we read. To create that exceptional signature experience, you need 3 things. First, intention.
Right. Nothing happens by accident.
Second is consistency. One amazing moment can be totally wiped out by 3 mediocre ones.
And the third, and this is the big one, is a deep understanding of what the client actually values. It's not always what you think it is. This is about building a real relationship that goes way beyond that final invoice.
Absolutely.
So we've broken this whole journey down into 8 crucial touch points. We're going to go through them chronologically, starting before they even contact you, all the way to the end, where they become, hopefully, your biggest advocates.
I'm ready. Let's dive in. And we have to start at the very beginning, because that first impression, it's not made with a handshake anymore, is it? It's all pixels.
It's all pixels.
So this first phase, what the sources call the pre-contact phase, I think a lot of people just take this for granted. We're so focused on the pitch meeting or the proposal.
We are. But the reality is the decision-making process starts way before that. Someone gets a referral. What's the first thing they do? They Google you.
They check you out online.
100%. They are verifying that referral. They're on your website. They're scrolling through your social media, maybe looking at your LinkedIn. This digital footprint is your first chance to impress them. You're basically being judged on your online suit and tie.
So what are they looking for? I mean, it's not enough just to have a website, right?
Yeah.
The sources actually get really specific on what online polish means.
Right. And polish is a good word, but the even better one is friction-free. Think about a potential client. They're busy. They're time poor. If they have to spend more than 10 seconds hunting for your contact info or examples of your work,
You've already lost them.
you've already lost a little bit of trust. That friction, that difficulty in navigating, it signals a disorganized process. You've created doubt before the conversation has even started.
And what about professionalism? I mean, everyone says their website is professional. What's the deeper layer here?
It's social proof, but with a filter. Our sources say clients are looking for 2 things specifically: recency and relevance.
Okay, that's interesting. So it's not just about having good testimonials.
Not at all. A glowing review from 2018 is
Right.
nice. But the client is thinking, Okay, but what have you done lately? It creates this little seed of doubt. Are they still at the top of their game?
So what's the benchmark?
For any kind of high-ticket service, the baseline is having at least 2 detailed, relevant case studies or testimonials from the last 12 months. Minimum. It proves you're still delivering at a peak level right now.
And the messaging has to be aligned. This is where I see a lot of businesses stumble. Well, their website copy promises this bespoke, white glove, high-touch service. But then you fill out their contact form, and you get this clunky, generic, automated response.
There's misalignment. It's a huge red flag. It instantly breaks the promise.
And this goes all the way down to what the sources call the small digital details. These are the micro interactions that signal macro-level care.
Let's get specific on that. What's an example?
Okay, think about your email signature. Is it just your name and a phone number?
Or is it properly designed, branded, maybe with a link to your latest case study or a little one-liner about your value proposition? It's a tiny piece of real estate that says so much. The automated responses are another great example. Nobody expects an answer at 2 in the morning. We all get that. But the auto reply that just says, "We received your message," is so sterile. It's a missed opportunity.
So how do you make it feel human?
You can thank them by name. You can set a really precise expectation like, our specialist will personally respond to you within 4 business hours, not just soon. And maybe you can even include a link to a helpful resource they can look at while they wait.
That's already setting the stage for being proactive, which I know we'll get to later. But the point is, every single digital asset, from the header on your PDF proposals to how you organize your online portfolio, it all has to scream that you care about the details.
And that portfolio piece is huge. It's not just a gallery of everything you've ever done. High-value clients are looking for proof of fit. They want to see work that looks like the project they have in mind.
So you have to curate it.
You have to curate it. It means you might even leave off some perfectly good projects if they don't align with the 5-star work you want to attract more of.
Okay, so that digital door is open. They're impressed. They've decided to reach out. Now the conversation shifts from your general brand to them specifically.
And we move right into the most human part of this.
Yeah.
Personalization.
Right.
Once you've got that credibility, the real connection starts. And a one-size-fits-all process just fails here. Because a 5-star experience isn't about treating a client like a transaction. It's about treating them like a unique partner.
And that means you have to really listen, actively listen.
Yes. And it's more than just hearing what they're asking for. It's understanding the why behind the what. They don't just want a new website. Why do they want it?
Maybe they just landed a big round of funding and they need to look credible to investors.
Exactly. Or maybe they're super stressed about a competitor and they need frequent reassurance that the project is on track. You have to listen for that subtext, the emotion underneath the request.
The sources give some really practical examples of how to show you're paying attention. It's more than just using their name.
Oh, way more. It's about remembering and, more importantly, referencing the small personal details they share with you.
So, for example, on that first call, they mentioned they need the project done before a big industry conference in September.
Right. The average person just hears that as a deadline.
Yeah.
A 5-star professional calendars it. And then 3 weeks later, when you're discussing a timeline, you say, okay, let's accelerate this part so we have plenty of buffer before your September conference.
And that right there tells the client, I heard you, I remembered, your goals are my goals. It's so powerful.
Referencing past conversations is probably the easiest and most powerful tool you have. If you can connect the decision you're making today back to a specific pain point they mentioned weeks ago, you're proving that first conversation wasn't just data gathering. It was a genuine investment.
Now, there's a critique here I want to bring up. The sources do note that this deep personalization can sometimes feel a little too much. Or worse, it can lead to scope creep if you're not careful. How do you find that balance?
That's where adapting your communication style comes in. You can adapt your style without sacrificing your process or your boundaries. And this is where most people trip up. Personalization isn't just what you deliver, it's how you communicate.
Okay, break that down for me. Give me a scenario.
Let's say you have a client who loves quick, casual text messages. They use emojis, they want fast answers. But your project requires formal, documented approvals via email for legal reasons.
Right. That's a classic conflict.
A 5-star professional bridges that gap. You meet their emotional need for speed using their preferred channel. You send them a quick text. Got it. Draft is on track for 3 p.m. with the thumbs up emoji. You give them that instant reassurance.
But you still need the formal approval.
Exactly. So right after that text, you send the official email with the documentation. And you set this expectation on day one. You say, I'm happy to use text for quick updates, but just so you know, all official approvals will need to come via email so we both have a clear paper trail.
So you're delivering communication through convenience, but maintaining boundaries through clarity. I love that.
And it works the other way, too. If you have a very formal corporate client who expects structured updates, and you try to be their best friend with casual texts.
You're creating friction. You look unprofessional.
Precisely. The goal isn't to impose your style on them. It's to adapt to theirs. That act of adaptation alone makes a client feel seen and understood in a way that very few service providers ever manage.
Okay, so we've built that personal connection. Now the focus has to shift to the process itself. Because if the journey feels chaotic, the destination almost doesn't matter.
That's a great way to put it. And this is where we move from being reactive to being proactive.
The sources define this as the real hallmark of a luxury service. It's what separates good from 5-star.
Right. Good service is answering a client's question quickly.
Luxury service is answering the question before they even knew they had it.
Exactly. You are removing their cognitive burden. A client should never have to spend a single second wondering what's happening next or why haven't I heard from them? Because that about wondering, that's just a nice word for anxiety.
And the sources actually quantify this. They say that every time a client has to chase their vendor for an update, even once, the perceived value of the whole project just plummets.
It does. There was one study from a consulting firm that found for every hour of inquiry time they saved a client through proactive updates, they saw a 15% increase in positive feedback and referral rates.
15%. That's a massive metric. So let's talk about the specific ways we do this. How do we act proactively?
It starts with structured foresight. You provide the full project timeline before they even think to ask for it. But you don't just send a list of dates.
What do you send?
You send a roadmap. You explain why the steps are in that order. You clarify who is responsible for what at each stage. And this is the key. You tell the client what they need to do to prepare for the next step.
So you're anticipating their role in the process. You're saying, we need your marketing data by Tuesday to start phase 2, so please have that ready. You're not waiting until Monday afternoon to ask for it.
You're never making them scramble. And this is even more critical when things go wrong, because delays happen.
They always do.
If your lead developer gets sick and a deliverable is going to be 3 days late, you don't wait until the deadline to apologize. You get in front of it. You reach out the moment you know, you explain the situation, you explain your plan to mitigate it, and you propose a new, concrete timeline.
It's about expectation management, not damage control. You're showing them that you're watching the process like a hawk. You're not just waiting for them to sound the alarm.
And the best way to do this is to add value beyond the scope of work. Maybe you see an article about a new regulation in their industry that will affect how they use your final product. You send it to them. Hey, saw this and thought of your project.
That one small act changes the whole relationship. Suddenly you're not just managing their project, you're looking out for their success.
And the result is, well, it's profound. It reduces their anxiety to almost zero. They have complete confidence in you. They feel truly, genuinely taken care of. They know you're looking around corners for them.
So we're being proactive with the flow of information. Now let's talk about the packaging of that information. You mentioned that every routine interaction, a proposal, an onboarding packet, even a meeting agenda, is an opportunity.
It's a huge opportunity. These aren't just transactions. They are moments of brand reinforcement. Every single time a client interacts with something from you, they are making a judgment about your quality and your value.
So if your proposal looks like a generic Word document,
You're signaling that your work will probably be just as generic. This is where branding and aesthetics become so important. It's not about being fancy. It's about showing you care.
what does that look like?
It means using beautifully designed templates for everything. Branded PDFs for meeting notes, for project scopes. It signals quality before they've even read the first word. In the digital world, this means using a clean, modern client portal instead of just emailing a bunch of attachments back and forth.
Okay, but let's talk about the more personal gestures. The sources talk about sending curated gifts or handwritten notes. I have to ask, isn't there a risk of that feeling performative? Or even a bit manipulative?
That is the absolute crucial question. And the line between sincerity and performance is all about relevance and specificity.
What do you mean?
A generic gesture is performance. Sending every client the same bottle of wine at the end of a project is a transaction. It's nice, but it's not personal. The sources are clear. The power is in connecting the gesture to something you learned about them personally.
Give me a good example of that.
Okay, say you learned during discovery that your client is a huge fan of a specific author. After a successful project launch, you send them a signed first edition copy of that author's new book. That is highly specific, it's relevant, it shows you listened and you cared enough to remember.
And it doesn't have to be expensive, right? I love some of the smaller examples.
Yes, sending a link to an article that speaks directly to a challenge they mention, or creating a collaborative Spotify playlist for the team to use during a creative phase of the project. These things cost nothing, but they are so intentional. They're memorable because they treat the client like a human, not an account number.
These are what the sources call moments of delight. They break up the normal transactional flow of business.
And those are the emotional highlights. Those are the stories they're going to tell their friends when someone asks for a referral.
Okay, so the foundation is built, the process is designed, but now we have to get to the part where things can go wrong very, very quickly. We're talking about communication clarity and the actual quality of the work.
Yes. And the sources say poor communication is the #1 project killer. It's responsible for something like 80% of failures, even when the work itself is good.
Why is it so destructive?
Because a lack of updates, or vague answers, or slow responses, they all signal one of two things to a client. Either you don't prioritize them, or you're not in control of the process. Both are fatal to trust.
So let's talk about expectation management. You have to nail this down right at the start. What are the key things to get crystal clear on?
You have to go beyond just timelines and deliverables. You need to establish the rules of engagement. A huge one is the revision process. How many rounds of revisions are included? How long does a revision round typically take?
And what happens when they ask for that third or fourth round?
You have to be explicit upfront that additional rounds will incur a fee. You have that conversation before they ask, not after. Another key is clarifying responsibilities for both parties.
Oh, this is huge. Who on the client side is the final decision maker? What's the latest they can provide feedback before the project timeline is officially impacted?
Ambiguity here is the single biggest cause of scope creep and delays. The best providers give their client a responsibility matrix, like a Rossi eye chart on day one. It's not just an internal tool.
Okay, and what happens when things do go wrong? Because in any complex project, something will.
This is where the tone and transparency imperative comes in. You have to maintain a calm, confident, respectful tone, especially when you're delivering bad news.
The sources say that how you handle the difficult moments often matters more to the client than getting everything perfect.
It matters so much more. They know things go wrong. What they're looking for is leadership. If you try to hide a problem, you destroy trust forever. But if you surface it immediately and say, here's the problem, and here are 2 potential solutions with their pros and cons.
You look like a leader. You're not just presenting a problem, you're presenting a plan.
And through all of this, there is one non-negotiable rule. The absolute minimum standard: always close the loop. Never leave a message unanswered. Never leave an issue unresolved.
Even if you don't have the answer yet?
Especially if you don't have the answer. The reply has to be, I'm working on this. I don't have the final word yet, but I will update you with a decision by 3 p.m. tomorrow. That little bit of communication transforms their anxiety into assurance.
Okay, so communication is locked down, but none of it matters if the final product is just mediocre.
None of it. All the beautiful design, all the proactive updates, it's all meaningless if the core work isn't excellent. The sources are absolutely unanimous on this. Quality is the foundation.
So let's define excellence. We need to go beyond just saying the work was good. What are some practical metrics?
It has to be tied to their business goals. If you're running a marketing campaign, excellence isn't just a pretty ad. It's a campaign that hits a target cost per acquisition. Or even better, a target lifetime value for the customers it brings in. It's a measurable commercial result.
And if you're, say, an event planner?
It's flawless logistics. It's having backup plans for your backup plans. It's a measured 0% delay in any key part of the schedule. It's precision.
And across all industries, it's the basics. Hitting your deadlines, staying on budget, and being incredibly responsive to feedback.
And actually acting on the feedback, not just saying thanks for the feedback and then ignoring it.
This brings up the classic advice: under-promise and over-deliver. What's the nuanced take on that from a 5-star perspective?
The sources suggest a refinement of that idea. Underpromising can be a good way to manage expectations, sure. But the absolute baseline requirement is simply to follow through on every single promise you make.
So if you say the draft will arrive on Tuesday, it has to arrive on Tuesday. No excuses.
Full stop. Following through is what builds trust. Over-delivering is the bonus that creates delight. But you can't have the delight without the trust.
So the real 5-star approach is to high promise the quality your price point deserves, and then use all the proactive service and communication we've talked about to consistently hit that high promise, and then look for small ways to over-deliver around the edges.
That's the perfect summary. If you hit your deadline and deliver amazing quality, then the beautiful branded PDF and the handwritten note feel like authentic parts of a premium service. If you're late, they just look like lipstick on a pig.
The core has to be solid.
The core has to be solid.
All right, we've delivered the project, the invoice is paid, the campaign is live. This is where I think 99% of businesses stop.
They do. They hit the brakes.
Yeah.
But the material is so clear that the 5-star experience has to continue long after that final transaction.
This brings us to the feedback loop.
Yes. The experience doesn't end at wrap-up. This is one of the most vital steps. You have to follow up. And not just to ask for a testimonial, which is a very transactional way of looking at it.
You're asking for honest, critical feedback. Why is that so important?
Well, first, it's just respectful. It expresses gratitude. But more importantly, it shows you're committed to getting better. It tells the client, your insight is valuable to me as a long-term partner, not just as a completed sale.
How do you get them to be really honest, though? Especially a high-level client who might not want to seem critical.
You have to make it easy and safe. One great tactic is to use a third-party, anonymous survey for the quantitative stuff, like a net promoter score. Another is to schedule a very short reflection call about a month later.
And how do you frame that call?
You frame it as being about your process. You say, we're always looking to improve our process, and your candid insight on what worked and what didn't would be incredibly helpful for our next client.
So you depersonalize it. You're not asking, did you like me? You're asking, how could our onboarding be more efficient?
Exactly. It gives them permission to be critical of the process without damaging the relationship. And then, and this is the part everyone forgets, you have to actually act on the feedback.
You have to close the loop.
You have to close the loop on their feedback itself. If a client tells you your contract was too confusing and you simplify it, you should tell them that the next time you talk. By the way, we took your advice and streamlined our contract. Thanks again for that.
That's incredibly powerful. It makes them feel like they're a part of your success.
And it ensures your service is always evolving to be more client-centered. You're not just stuck in a process you designed 5 years ago.
Which leads us to the final, ultimate goal of this entire system, turning those satisfied clients into loyal advocates.
This is the holy grail. This is the highest ROI. Because a happy client is the single best marketing tool you will ever have. A true 5-star experience generates referrals and testimonials naturally. You don't have to beg for them.
They become your champions. They sell you better than you could ever sell yourself. So what are the strategies to, facilitate that, to encourage it?
First, make it ridiculously easy for them. If you want a review, don't just say leave us a review. Send them a direct one-click link to the specific site you want them to use. Maybe even offer a pre-drafted template they can edit if they're busy.
Reduce the friction.
Always reduce the friction. And when it comes to referrals, the sources say to be thoughtful with incentives. A generic cash bonus can feel a bit cheap.
So what's better?
A high-value gift certificate to their favorite restaurant. A discount on their next project. Or, even better, a public shout-out that celebrates their success, which your work helped enable. Make them the hero.
But the most important strategy, and probably the hardest, is just staying in touch in a real non-transactional way.
This is where most business relationships die. The only time they hear from you is when you want to sell them something new. You have to break that cycle.
What does that look like?
It means checking in, just to check in. Congratulate them on a company milestone you saw on LinkedIn. Share a relevant article. Invite them to an industry event you're going to. No pitch, just relationship building.
I love the idea of a client anniversary email. A year after their project launched, you send a note celebrating the success you achieved together.
It's brilliant. It turns a past transaction into an ongoing professional friendship. And that's the final goal. The relationship is the objective. You're turning your service into a signature experience that they remember, they talk about, and they actively sell for you long after you're done working together.
When you get to that point, you haven't just kept a client, you've basically recruited a new, highly motivated member of your sales team for life.
For life.
This has been such a great deep dive. I feel like we could talk about this for hours. If we had to summarize the core philosophy one last time, what would it be?
It's that wowing clients isn't about big, grand, one-off gestures. It's about thousands of small, consistent, thoughtful human interactions that prove you care about their success as much as they do.
We walked through all 8 steps, from that pre-contact digital polish and deep personalization, all the way to proactive service, intentional design, crystal clear communication, flawless execution, and finally building that feedback loop for long-term advocacy.
It's a full journey.
It is. So for you listening right now, what's the one thing you can do this week to start putting this into practice?
I think it has to be a surgical audit. Don't try to fix everything at once. That's overwhelming. Just pick one single routine touch point.
Like what? Your proposal template.
Your proposal template,
Yeah.
your standard onboarding email, even just the sign-off you use in your weekly status updates. Pick one tiny thing and ask yourself, what is one intentional step I can take right now to make this one thing more polished, more human, and more reflective of a 5-star experience?
That feels manageable. Take one of those 8 principles, maybe proactive communication, and just apply it to that one step.
Exactly. See what happens when you rigorously apply the close-the-loop rule to every single email for 1 week. Just watch how that one change shifts your client's perception of your value. It's amazing.
That's the perfect takeaway. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Now go out there and apply these principles.
Thanks for tuning in to the Song for Beauty podcast. This is a place where beauty meets community and it meets strategy and ideas. If anything resonated with you, if you were inspired, if ideas were sparked by this podcast, make sure to subscribe, leave a comment, also share it. Be sure to check out www.samb4beauty.com. Stay tuned, and we hope to see you at the SAMB for Beauty conference this year in November. It's a virtual conference, November 5th through the 7th. There's a lot of great resources. You're going to access workshops, one-to-one consultations and membership. And then there are quarterly webinars for knowledge, and there's a knowledge base that you can access, all to support your efforts as you look at expanding some of your sales and marketing efforts for your business. We appreciate you checking in. Make sure to follow and check out the next episode.